15 days, 1,510 pages, 3 finished books, and 8 more books in progress. This is in lieu of a weekly update. Since I took a week off there, I'm doing a mid-month update. So this is what I've read from the beginning of November through the 15th of November. This is my update video. I'm Randy Ray. This is The Literate Texan. It's a channel where I like to talk about books, literature, highbrow, lowbrow, you name it, anything in between. Try not to be particularly snobby here, but I try to read good stuff and talk about good stuff. So maybe there's something I'll be interested in here that you'll be interested in. I'm going to talk about which books I really loved, which ones I hated. I didn't really hate any of the books on this list. Honestly, if I hate something, I'm not reading it. I DNF it pretty quick. So, all right, well, here's the books I finished from November 1st through November 15th, okay? Limitations by Scott Turow. Scott Turow is my favorite legal thriller writer. To me, he's like John Grisham. He's like John Grisham, only so much better. He's just better at writing sentences. You know, his style is really sharp. And one of the, I keep logs of everything. I keep insane logs now. And I know how fast I read specific authors and specific books. And one of my sessions for Scott Turow, I clocked at 150 pages per minute, which is a lot for me. Generally speaking, I do about 50 pages per minute. So something about the way he writes and the way I read is simpatico. But I read this as a buddy read with Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads. We both enjoyed it, but we'd both be a little bit reluctant to suggest this book to a woman. There's a sexual assault case with some issues related to the statute of limitations, and this judge has to make a ruling about it. But we find out fairly early in the novel that the judge has done some things in his past that make him a little less sympathetic than we initially thought he was. But it's a fine novel. It's one of the shorter novels that I've read from Scott Turow. It's probably his shortest novel. I think it was less than 300 pages. But yeah, Limitations, solid book. I think Greg enjoyed it too. But if you're squeamish about sex stuff at all, trigger warning. Now. Number 2, I finished reading Plainsong by Kent Haruf. Plainsong, well, I don't know much about Kent Haruf other than, boy, I really like his writing. The first book by Kent Haruf that I read was called Our Souls at Night, which was made into a Netflix movie starring Robert Redford and Jane Fonda. It was a lovely, lovely movie, so I went and found the book and read it. And I thought it was really good, too. And then Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading had mentioned that she really liked Plainsong, which is the first book in the Plainsong trilogy. And, it's basically about ordinary people living ordinary lives in rural America, and the quiet dignity and kindness that they show in their day-to-day lives. It's a really, really good book. There's some sex stuff in it. If you're squeamish about sex stuff, this might not be for you either. But yeah, Plainsong's terrific. Also very short, very easy to read. Number 3 of the books that I finished for the month was, this is a favorite of mine actually, The Quiet American by Graham Greene. I read this for Dr. November, which is our annual event that Mark at Book Time with Elvis hosts, where we read spy fiction. And The Quiet American is our group read for that event this month. And it is not a disappointment. It does not let you down. It didn't let me down the first time I read it either. Well, first time I read it, I was like, oh, I love Graham Greene. I've got to read more Graham Greene. Since then, I've read The Quiet American again. But I hope to slip another Graham Greene or 2 in there before Dr. November is over. I mean, I've still got a couple weeks, right? And when you're doing, 1,500 pages every 2 weeks, you got a chance at getting some real reading done. Number 5, books I'm in the middle of. I don't know why I said number 5 there. There's no number 5 on my sheet of paper here at all in my notes. These are the books that I'm still in the middle of. I jump from book to book. I don't know how effective that is in terms of speed or whatever, but I like to keep the iron's burning on several books at once. And so here's books that I'm in the middle of. She by H. Rider Haggard. I've got an ongoing project where I'm reading everything that H. Rider Haggard has written. This was inspired in part by Michael K. Vaughan, who also loves H. Rider Haggard. I'm making a note here so I can mention him in the description below. I don't want to forget. I like to mention people in the description tags below. But yeah, he's reading all of, I think, Edgar Rice Burroughs and all of Robert E. Howard and all of Stephen King. I'm doing a similar project for H. Rider Haggard, who's the father of the adventure tale. She is terrific. It's about a 2,000-year-old sorceress who rules a tribe of Africans from her secret lair inside of a volcano. Yeah, and yeah, it's really good, and it's significantly different from King Solomon's Mines. I expected them to be very similar. Of course, I've read both of these before, but I'm really enjoying this reread of She. I've got about 40 pages left in it. You know, at my current rate, I should be able to finish She today, so that'll be good. Then I can move on to my next H. Rider Haggard book. Let's see, what else have I got going on here? The Fellowship of the Ring. Well, most of you who've been watching the channel regularly know that I host a book club, the Lone Star Book Club from the channel here. The Fellowship of the Ring is our group read, is our book club read for November. December, we're going to do The Two Towers, and then in January, we're going to read The Return of the King. In February, we're going to follow that up with The Stand, and we're doing these in order for a reason. I read an article with Stephen King either wrote or was interviewed where he was talking about the similarities between Dracula, The Stand, and The Lord of the Rings, and basically his premise was, and I don't think you should take it too seriously, but his premise was that The Lord of the Rings has a lot in common with Dracula. You know, corresponding characters and everything. Gandalf is just Van Helsing. The Dark Lord is Dracula. Jonathan Harker and Frodo Baggins, you know, parallel and stuff. But then also in The Stand, you got a really great Gollum knockoff in The Stand, Trash Can Man. But you also have a Gollum knockoff, or I guess an original, Renfield. At any rate, that's why we're reading The Lord of the Rings right now. In The Fellowship of the Ring, we're going along at a pace of about 1 chapter a day, 5 or 6 chapters a week. So you should be halfway through The Fellowship of the Ring by now. That's where I'm at. I'll post a new update about Dracula, which I finished and owe you guys a discussion video about soon. But I've also got to make a discussion video about how far we are in The Fellowship of the Ring so far. And then, let's see, and get your copy of The Stand if you don't already have it so that you can participate throughout February. Number 3 on my list of books that I'm in the middle of is The Cider House Rules by John Irving. I've got to thank Pat at Book Chat with Pat for this one. Pat and a couple other people got together and decided to start a group called The World According to John Irving. It started off really small, but then it really took off. But the idea is that we're going to read The Cider House Rules in November this month, of which I'm about a quarter of the way through. I'm lagging behind. But also, there's a sequel/prequel coming out next month that we're all going to read together too. I think it's called Queen Evelyn or Queen Eleanor, something like that. I don't know. If it's got John Irving's name on it, I'm not going to turn it down. He's just too good a writer. He's on that list of writers that it's like, oh, I've got to read everything he's ever written. And I've gotten pretty far too. I'm thinking about the Cider House Rules. You remember earlier I was giving the content warnings? Yeah, this is another one. If you're squeamish at all about sex or, you know, there's some pretty graphic stuff in here, as might be expected. But anyway, yeah, it's a great novel. Cider House Rules. I'm in the middle of that. I'm also in the middle of a biography of Ian Fleming. It's called The Life of Ian Fleming. Ian Fleming's fascinating, folks. I had no idea, but basically, you know, he invented James Bond as a sort of fictional alter ego for himself, and then went out and lived his alter ego's life. And so, you know, not only was James Bond drinking 10 martinis a day and smoking 4 packs of cigarettes, but so was Ian Fleming. You know, and it brought Ian Fleming to an early death. He died at the age of 53 of a heart attack, and there's no doubt it was brought on by hard living. But anyway, his biography is fascinating. I'm really enjoying it. And then I'm also reading a biography of H. Rider Haggard. The Great Storyteller, I think it's called. I don't remember the author's name. I'm in the middle of the world according to Garp as well. One of my friends that I read with is part of the World According to John Irving group and hadn't read the World According to Garp yet. And she wanted to read that before we read the Cider House Rules. Well, she finished it, but I'm still working on it. World According to Garp's one of my favorite novels, though. This is probably my fourth reread of it. I never get tired of it. Let's see. Then A Portrait of a Lady. This is the buddy read that I'm furthest behind on. I'm only 3 chapters in. But I'm buddy reading this with Christopher Russell, who's already finished it. So I'm way behind. Sorry, Christopher. I will finish this book. We will discuss it, and we will make a video about it, I promise. And then finally, I started, just for fun, King Sorrow by Joe Hill. Okay, now I don't know much about this book. I've only got about 50 pages in. But this looks like one of those big monster novels that Joe Hill's dad used to write. Joe Hill is Stephen King's son, for those of you who don't know it already. But I think the cat's out of the bag at this point. The idea behind King Sorrow, from what I can ascertain from the videos that I've seen interviewing Joe Hill, the idea is that it's like Friends would be. You got your guy friends and your 3 woman friends, but instead of a sitcom, it's a horror novel. And they're involved in the occult, and King Sorrow is a dragon. That, if I understand correctly, where the novel's planning to go is they're going to summon this dragon into our reality and have to deal with the consequences of that for the next 25 years. So, I don't know. I like the premise of it. It's original. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading more. There's a nice little nod to Stephen King's dad in his novel The Dead Zone early on in King Sorrow, and that won me over right away. So anyway, that's what I'm in the middle of right now. Let's roll into the stats section. This is always, I don't know, man. Somebody made fun of me and told me I was just a businessman and not really a reader. I'm like, man, if you saw my P&L sheets, you'd know what an insult it is to call me a businessman, because I ain't making no money, honey. But here are my stats, my reading stats, okay? So total number of pages I read from the 1st through the 15th of November, 1,510. That's an average of about 100 pages a day, a little over 100.7 pages per day. Total number of hours over those 2 weeks, 37.2. That's an average of almost 20 hours a week. But, you know, this is my avocation, so to speak, so I should have time for it. Let's see here. It says here, session... Week one, I read 653 pages, and week 2, I read 857 pages. So, second week's where I really caught my stride there. And then I've got these books that I'm still working on finishing. I should be able to finish it today. I've only got about half an hour left on it. But then Other Paths to Glory is a spy novel that I'm reading as a buddy read with Mark at Book Time with Elvis. Probably got about 3 or 4 hours left to read in that one. And then the rest of them go up considerably from there. 6 hours here with the Life of Ian Fleming, 7 hours there with the Lord of the Rings, 8 more hours with the World According to Garp. So, but if I get another 35, 40 hours read by the end of the month, I'll put a good dent in these, okay? So, finally, okay, let's wrap this up, okay? You know what I've been up to over November now. I did take a week off. If you pay any attention to the channel at all, maybe you don't pay enough attention to the channel to realize that I took a week off, but I did take a week off. It was needed. But I got plenty of new videos coming up. If you're interested in seeing those, I hate myself for saying this. I feel like I've sold out. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see the future videos from me, if you don't want to miss out. Because like I say, I've got a new video coming out about Dracula. I've got a new video coming out about the Fellowship of the Ring shortly. For Poetry Thursdays, I'm doing a deep dive into Alfred Lord Tennyson over the next few weeks. So if you want to become an expert on Alfred Lord Tennyson, tune in for that. If there's something you want to see me cover in a video here, please let me know in the comments down below. Also, tell me what you're reading. What's your November been like so far? And what are your plans for the rest of the year reading? I want to know. I want to read about it in the comments. I read all my comments. I try to respond to almost all my comments, but I'll occasionally miss one. Don't get your feelings hurt if I miss one. It's not you, it's me. Anyway, till the next video, stay hydrated, folks, and stay sexy.